Cancer SA is a patient-led organization committed to strengthening the voice of people living with cancer in South Africa. Through advocacy, community engagement, and the development of the country's first patient-led cancer registry, the organization works to ensure that patient experiences, data, and lived realities contribute to better understanding, research, and support for those affected by cancer. As part of this work, Living with Cancer SA produces a range of conversations that explore the realities of cancer beyond the clinic. What Cancer Reveals is the organization's third podcast series and introduces a new perspective on how cancer is understood and discussed. This series steps outside the familiar stories of diagnosis, treatment, and survival. Instead, it explores what cancer exposes about systems, power, data, identity, and the invisible work that patients, families, and caregivers are often forced to carry in order to survive and to be heard. Each episode invites guests to reflect on what cancer revealed in their own journeys and in the systems around them. These conversations move beyond inspiration and awareness to examine the deeper truths cancer uncovers about healthcare, society, and what it really means to live after illness. What Cancer Reveals is an invitation to listen differently, to question what we think we know about cancer, and to recognize the knowledge that emerges from lived experience. What Cancer Reveals is a podcast series that steps outside the familiar stories of diagnosis, treatment, and survival. Each episode explores what cancer exposes about systems, power, data, identity, and the invisible work patients, their families, and caregivers are forced to do to survive and be heard. This series moves beyond inspiration and awareness to examine the truths cancer uncovers about healthcare, society, and what it really means to live after illness. Good morning and welcome to the Living with Cancer podcast series. Today we have Moira Keymer, who is going to be speaking to us about what cancer reveals when watching the ones you love suffer. Welcome, Moira, and good morning.
Hi, Belinda. Nice to be here again.
So Moira, in our last podcast, we spoke a little bit about your cancer, but when we were chatting about it, it revealed the fact that you've had to also watch people in your family and immediate family and I know your daughter-in-law and your little grandson go through cancer, and you spoke about your father also going through cancer. So maybe we could just talk a little bit about what it was like for you. It really does impact people beyond the treatment, and you have to watch them. So if you can maybe just share a little bit about the moments you learned. For example, you spoke about your dad when he was diagnosed with cancer and you watched him go through cancer. Maybe you can share what that was like.
I think with my dad, one of the things that I felt very strongly was a bit of anger, because he would not acknowledge that he was ill, and so he was very stubborn and wouldn't go to the doctor and wouldn't try for treatment. And then the crisis would build up, and then in the middle of the night he would need help, and his wife would have to take him to some emergency center in the middle of the night. And this made me cross with him, and very helpless. But in the end of the day, that was his choice. And then, of course, as the cancer progressed, obviously now he's under the care of an oncologist and a urologist. And so appointments were made, treatments were put in place, and that kind of like stubbornness melted away a little bit. But the fact that he hadn't sought the help when he needed it, when we all knew, Dad, go to the doctor. You need to go to the doctor. And he wouldn't because he's stubborn, and there's nothing wrong with him. That was when I think frustration and anger were two emotions that I dealt with then.
What do you think made you angry and frustrated?
The fact that his stubbornness actually impacted other people. And as things progressed, it exacerbated his own suffering. And actually, if he had responded earlier, he probably wouldn't have had to suffer to the extent that he did. And so it was for me very sad as well that ended up being his journey, because I think that with modern care today, or then, I mean, that was quite a long time ago, even then, I doubt whether you see his cancer metastasized into his spine. But if he had addressed it when he should have, it probably would not have done that.
So bringing that conversation back to today's time, where you've watched your daughter-in-law and your grandson go through a similar journey, what emotions did it evoke in you when, especially with someone who's really young, and now they have access to all this treatment and life's supposed to be different? What happened for you with these scenarios?
Well, I think that when Jason was diagnosed, the level of I can only call it like an icy fear, gripped my heart, because this was now a brain tumor. And for about 10 days, maybe longer, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we had no idea whether this was operable. We knew it was not operable. From the very first scan, we knew it was not operable, but we didn't know whether it was treatable. And so for that initial period, myself and everybody else who loved this child was hanging, waiting to know whether in fact it could be treated. And if it was not able to be treated, it was a death sentence. No question. And the doctors were very clear about that. So the fact that he then had to go through this brain biopsy, he had to have all the spinal taps that he did, it was awful, but we knew that the doctors were persevering in getting an absolutely accurate diagnosis. So before they were going to put him through any kind of chemo or radiation, they wanted to know, was this going to work or not? And that was a terrible time, because the not knowing, I think it's very hard to live with not knowing.
And Moira, if we think about your family, and do you think the dynamics, the wider family dynamics shifted? What do you think or what happened with the family? Did they start? I
The
mean,
family,
some families pull away, they go silent, some
no,
families stick together. What happened with your family?
my family cleaved like you cannot believe. So there wasn't a day when he was in hospital in that early stages, which was a long time, because now they're doing spinal taps, now they're waiting for the results, now he's still in bed in hospital. So he was in hospital about 3 weeks then, before they discharged him to wait for his radiation slots at the Groote. So in the meantime, the family, there was always somebody visiting. All the cousins, was remarkable. All his cousins drew alongside, all the different ages. They all drew alongside. They all came with gifts. They all came with encouragement. Buddy this and that. And they were wonderful. And all the children, my children, in other words, the parents, also cleaved and were very close to Andrew and Lee at that time. And that has actually continued.
So, Moira, you've gone through a cancer journey, maybe not the same treatment protocol, but you've watched your father. Um, and what was the pressure like for you? I mean, did you feel like everyone turned to you and like, now what? Or
No,
what was your role?
my role was very much granny. And so I have quite a special connection with Jason. But at that time, he was so ill that my role ended up being supporting those who were supporting Jason. So there were many, many hours that nobody ever left him alone, not even at night. So Lee and Andrew would take shifts and they would stay at the hospital day and night. And it became quite expensive for them to endlessly eat at the cafeteria. So, and of course, money's tight when somebody has cancer because there's all sorts of hidden costs that aren't covered by medical aid. And so I ended up being the bearer of food. And every time I visited, I would make a pack of really, really nutritious bread rolls, with salad and cheese and ham and whatever, all the good things in it. And I would pack lunches up. And when I arrived with this food, it was always just demolished because getting kind of home prepared stuff that was easy to eat. You see, this is another thing. You don't want to take food that now has to be heated or any of that. You just want to take something. Nobody's interested in food, but they all need to eat to keep their strength up. And so, yeah, so my bread rolls became quite an institution. And I would just do that. And then another role that I played was in the background with Erin. So often the parents would be at the hospital because the doctors were doing their rounds or whatever. And Erin would need to be fetched from school. And then Erin wanted to be next to her brother. So that would then involve me fetching her from school, taking her home, letting her change, letting her get her laptop so she could do some homework at the hospital, and then taking her to see her brother so that the parents didn't have that burden.
Moira, tell me, how has watching a loved one, your father, your grandson and your daughter-in-law,
And my
changed
brother.
and your brother, that's right, changed your view on or perspective on life? So you've gone through the cancer journey. How do you see life? Do you see it differently? Do you experience it differently?
I think that cancer, in whatever shape or form, definitely challenges one to think deeply. It certainly challenged me to really think deeply about the meaning of life. So what does this all mean? Like, what do we take from it? What are the challenges that it brings to us? And I think all of these experiences have made me think very deeply about suffering. What is the meaning of suffering? And what are the tools one needs to actually do the journey and grow from it rather than collapse under it? And I think one of the things that I do struggle with a lot is the level of sadness. So now here's Jason, and I'm very sad that this little boy's had this challenge and he's got this, whatever life he's got ahead of him, because of course he's still got a damaged pituitary from cancer. But when I look at my son, my heart breaks. When I look at Andy, my boy, my firstborn, my special boy, my heart actually breaks. The sadness is overwhelming when I think of how this challenges, this burden that he's had to bear, this sadness.
And as a mom, you want to take the pain away from your child.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think as the grandparent, I think that what I watch with my own children affects me even more deeply than what I watch with the grandchildren.
And what do you wish more people understood about the experience of family members and caregivers going through a cancer journey?
I think that maybe I wish more people would understand the need to not be a doer, but a beer. And you don't actually have to endlessly be doing stuff, because sometimes all that doing gets in the way. And the people who are on the coalface, like the immediate carers, the parents, or the wife, or the husband, they're on the coalface of the immediate caring. But to be a presence is sometimes more important than being a doer.
Wow. And it's so interesting. People get their people get their fill by doing because it
Correct.
makes them feel better if you're
Correct.
physically doing something.
See,
But yet,
like a palliative to their own pain.
exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying one shouldn't make the sandwiches.
Mm.
Okay. And what I'm not saying that the mummies at the school shouldn't rally round and get the meals going and bring the meals to the house. And there's definitely, and that is where community is so important. But now we're talking about like immediate family.
Mm.
Like you don't have to do anything when you do the visits. You just have to be. You just have to be. And if they want to talk, that's fine. But if they don't want to talk, don't endlessly bombard them with questions.
Moira, I think what you said is so powerful. It reminds me of my journey. And I remember where I'd be lying in bed after a chemo session and I'd have people bring in hordes of food that I'd never want to eat or come in to do stuff. And I just wanted them to come there and be and tell me about their normal life. And
Correct.
yeah, and not necessarily feel like they have to do stuff for me, but rather just be with me. So I think what you've said is incredibly powerful. So going through that journey, what is the one thing watching, your loved one's cancer journey revealed about yourself?
I think that in my training as a narrative therapist, I learned to silence that part of me that is a rescuer.
Mm.
Okay. And I think that most people, not all people, but most people have somewhere in them that they want to actually be a rescuer. And I think coming face to face with this, and I think maybe especially with Jason, um, and with Stephen, with his wife in Canada, there is no room, there is no rescuing. But what I want to do is rescue both of my sons from the suffering that they're currently enduring. So that
Which is so,
sadness that I experienced with Jason, with Andrew, I'm now also experiencing with my boy in Canada.
mm, mm,
Why must my boy have to go through this?
mm,
And how can I stop it?
mm,
No, you can't stop it. There is no rescuing here. So
mm,
then the invitation is, so you ask, what is my role? My role is to be.
Mm,
a
mm,
presence in their lives, a witness to them.
mm. Because often, again, and we've spoken about it just now, often is you feel helpless. So you want to do something because then if you rescue, then you feel better about you.
Of
So I
course.
think what it does reveal for me is that sometimes in these situations, our own fears are revealed because you say to yourself, well, what if this was me? How would I respond? And I think I know through my own journey, whenever I go for scans, I never take anyone with me because I don't want to see their fear when I'm trying to deal with my own
Correct.
emotions.
And that's what you just said now, I think is a very, very important, uh, a very important thing, is not to take your own suffering and dump it on them. Tell them, I feel so sorry for your loss, or I feel so sorry for this that you have to go through. It really hurts me to see you like this. No, that's my stuff, and that's got to stay in another world. If I feel like that, let me go see a therapist.
Mm, mm,
My child is not my therapist to my pain
mm.
because I'm then exacerbating his pain
So
because he
looking
doesn't want to
back,
see me suffer.
say that again, sorry.
He doesn't want to see my suffering.
Yes, yes. Because it's you then putting your burden on him and he's just trying to deal with his
Exactly.
own stuff.
He's got his own to deal with.
Mm. So
So that's
Moira,
another thing. So I think Dave and I together, we're trying very, very hard. We're very careful to be the independent elderly parents at the moment.
wow, wow.
Because
And
actually they need their space.
yeah.
You know, I sometimes think, gee, I wish we get an invite to dinner sometime. But no, they actually need their space. They're all exhausted perpetually. Erin's trying to write the trick. You know, they need their space. They don't actually need the elderly parents clawing at their doorstep.
Moira, if you think a little bit about the journey and your family, what are you most proud of as a family member, watching your family cope with all of this?
I think, wow, that's a far-reaching question. I think what I'm most proud of.
Maybe not most, but what are some of the behaviors that you look at them and you say, wow,
I
I'm so
think,
proud of you.
yeah, I think what when I watch Andrew, I'm incredibly proud of the man he is. He is incredibly gentle, compassionate, forgiving, and tolerant. Um, the way he allows Lee to manage her own self around Jason and all the things that she sees necessary that needs to be done, which he doesn't necessarily agree with. The way he just holds the space and lets her get on with what she needs to get on with. And having said that, she's been amazing um, in terms of managing Jason's diet and researching what's good for him and what's not good for him and holding that space. And I think that together, yeah, theirs is quite a calm environment because of these two things that interact.
Moira,
And
it
I think
sounds,
Erin, who's the older
sorry.
child, it's amazing to see how they have embraced her. Because, of course, Jason's very centralized,
Yes.
incredibly centralized by
Yeah.
everybody. And
Yes.
where does that leave Eri?
Yes.
But they've been amazing around that. So Andrew will hold Jason while mom goes off and does girly things with Erin.
Wow.
And then mom will hold Jason while dad goes and does the guides and the hiking and the Contiki on the dam and all of that stuff that Erin loves to do. So there is this, I'm very proud. I think it's extraordinary. I'm very proud of them as parents. I think they've done an extraordinary job.
Moira, listening to what you've said and the little I know about the story, I think they've learned it from you and Dave. So I think just as you speaking, you hold a space for them. So you demonstrate and illustrate how to respond to times of crisis. So I think that's maybe some credit to you.
Oh, thank you for that.
So what message would you like to leave for those or others who are currently watching someone they love battle cancer?
I think the message I would like to leave is beware of panic, and to be willing to just hold a space, just to be still. That is an incredible gift to the others who can't hold a quiet space because they do have to do stuff. You know, like, for example, when Jason's vomiting all night, just to be a presence is better than demanding anything from them. You can't. Like you say, sometimes people do too much in terms of getting in the way. Beware of not getting in the way. At the same time, don't abandon. To be a witness to somebody else's sorrow and pain is an incredible gift that you can give them. And I remember once I went to a conference run by Robert Wicks, who was an amazing consultant to the American government around caring for caregivers. And he was a Catholic man, and he came to South Africa, and I went to his conference. But at the end of his talk, there was a nun there, and there were questions. Robert, what must we do when we have to witness so much pain in the township, where we have a roof and we have food and we have clothes in the monastery, as it were, and we go out there amongst the people and we feel we have no right to actually comment at all? And he said, find a step and sit on it and just be with them.
Sure.
You can't fix it. You can't take it away. Just be there.
Again, I mean,
Experience.
that's super profound because, again, being a witness, holding the space, being able to not want to go in and rescue as we always do because we want to fix everything, I think is so powerful. So that's a beautiful message. So I have another question. So you can just pick up off the message that you would ask.
I think also one of the messages that I would like to offer people is when you confronted with a journey like cancer in someone that you love, there is a huge invitation to grow. And if you've never learned how to just be with the pain or without fixing rescuing, doing. Just embrace that lesson. Learn to be. It's a sacred place. Learn to be with another without having to talk.
And just be, because we always want to just step in and do and
Yes, we do.
make those samis, but then sit and be there while they eat the samis.
Correct. You don't actually have to say anything. You don't have to ask questions.
So just for our listeners, how is your grandson doing? Your daughter-in-law, and your brother, how is everyone doing?
Well, my brother passed away.
Sorry.
And that was, yeah, that was a cancer journey. And yeah, that was very, very sad and painful, but it was timely. Okay. But my son in Canada and Andrew and Jason and all of them, I think that we're at a place, there's a lot of silence coming from Canada.
Okay.
I send messages not often, not too often. Occasionally, I'll send a message to Lindsay, how are you doing, thinking about you. I particularly thought about you today, or whatever, and I don't get a response. And that's okay. And then with Stephen, we tend to talk once a week, but less and less do we talk about what's going on with Lindsay, talk about other things and what's going on with the family. And I see that, I think that we're at a stage now where they are quite cancered out. They're seeking to engage around normal things rather than sickness. And I know that in Andrew's home, we're not allowed to talk about medical things at all. Done, we're not doing that anymore.
Because you do get to a level of cancer fatigue and sick
Okay.
fatigue and sorrow fatigue
Yes.
and you need
So I
to.
think family is about there.
Hmm.
And Lindsay's halfway through her chemo.
Okay.
I think more than halfway through her chemo, and then she has to do radiation.
Okay. Okay. And how's little Jason doing?
Little Jason, he's doing so much better. He's getting stronger by the day. I think it's been an incredible shift since they took him out of school, because I think that going to a regular school placed an incredible amount of stress on him, because he was in and out because of the nausea. And I always used to say to Andrew, I know how I would feel if I was absent from school. Then going the next day, what did I miss? And I have to catch up, and the friend group shifts because I wasn't there. And so it goes on. If you're not always there, and then you're in and out, and you become the sick boy. So taking him out of school officially, now he doesn't miss school, he just isn't doing school. But they are giving him coaching on the sidelines in maths and Afrikaans, which is great. There's no decision yet around his long-term education, and they're resting with that.
Okay.
Because right now, they just want him to get stronger and better. We can deal with the education later.
So, Moira, my final question is cancer reveals many things about life, relationships, and ourselves, right? And I think we spoke about that. But what is the most important thing cancer revealed to you while watching someone you love suffer?
never, ever, ever let go of hope. And that's a difficult one, particularly when prognosis is iffy and things are looking very negative. Don't let go of hope. Just keep going, one foot in front of the other, and know that each day brings a new something. And I think that for me, if people don't have faith, they need to look deeply at that. Because without faith, how do you make meaning of any of this?
Very powerful. So the hope, the faith, and I
And the
think that
love,
was, and
you know,
the
and the love. Faith,
and the
hope,
love.
yeah. Faith, hope,
And love.
and love
Mm.
are the three legs of making meaning of life.
That's beautiful. I've loved what you said about being. I think it's very powerful. And if I look back, one of the most important reasons for me starting living with cancer was you live with cancer. So you have to have hope because you live with it. You have to have faith because it just gives you something to hold on. And you need the love to get through it. So it's not a death sentence. It's part of life, and you find ways to cope with it, right?
I
So
think what you
thank
said there is very, very important, is that
you.
it's not actually a death sentence. We all think that the big C equals a death sentence. It doesn't. It's an invitation to a new and different journey.
Yes, new and different journey, and embrace this part of your life.
Mm.
Mm,
And it is a journey, and
mm,
it puts you on a road. And on that road, there are it's almost like a club. Once you've had cancer, personally,
mm,
you look at it differently.
mm. And you look at life differently, and you
Mm.
everything. I mean, I don't regret going through my cancer journey because it's given me a total different outlook on life, how I see things, what I do, how I live.
Correct.
Mm, mm.
And
Beautiful.
most people who've had cancer, in the people I've seen in the wider community, will all say that.
Mm, mm,
This has taught
mm,
me so much.
mm. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It is a lesson, isn't it? Moira, thank you so much for your time. I don't know if you have any last message that you wanna share. But thank you so much for this time and the interview, allowing me to prod and probe in a very sacred space.
Yeah, I think it is a sacred space, but I think sacredness needs to be shared too.
Mm. So that you can learn and help others, right?
Correct. Mm.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Belinda. And thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.